Hello. Today I'm going to be making a portrait in watercolor. I'm going to be using the grid method to put a structural drawing down so I can get an accurate representation of some of the important shapes. The grid is a 16 by 20 rectangle with a 2" by 2" grid inside. This is Mr. Witt. He is going to be the subject of the painting today. He has a 1" by 1" grid superimposed on his photocopy, and the layout of his paper is 8 by 10. This part is kind of a challenge to see, but it's a very important part, the layout stage, done in a pencil. Try to look at where important landmarks are, trying to get some basic idea of where I'm going to put things. Now here, Mr. Witt does not have blue hair and blue sunglasses on, but this is a watercolor painting, so what I'm trying to do is to turn the value and the temperature down in those areas. So I start with those dark areas, and I'm doing my color mixing actually on the page. One of the great things about watercolor is that the properties are translucent. So when you layer upon layer watercolor, you'll influence the color, and you can create interesting variations of color by overlapping. I try to use very little black in my watercolors because it dulls out the colors. I also never use white in my watercolors. What I try to do is paint around my highlights. Whenever I add white, it seems to make the paint a little bit more opaque, a little bit more, changes the properties where they're not as translucent. Here's a little detail on the shirt, a little logo, little details. Another thing that I'm doing that might be a bit of a challenge here is to work a watercolor painting upright. I tend to enjoy the running and the dripping. It definitely adds a bit of a challenge. I use Q-tips and rags to wipe things that are running that I don't want them to run. But sometimes I enjoy how colors kind of mix onto each other. Again, the translucent quality of the watercolor is a really interesting part of the watercolor itself. Putting some details. Here, I'm just applying more details, messing around with edges, messing around with transitions. I could keep messing with this, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to show you the final product here right now. Thanks for watching. Have fun.